Hey everybody, welcome back. I am bored. COVID made me bored, and today at the table I am taking a look at Bang, the Halo version. Now, this is a pretty old game. I think it's 2014, but the Bang series, I believe, is still running quite strong. I think there's been several iterations and expansions to the Bang series, and basically Bang is a sort of 3 or 4 to 7 player shoot 'em up kind of whodunit type of game, where in the original Bang series, it's sort of set in the western landscape. There's a sheriff with his deputies going up against outlaws and I think some kind of renegade or something like that. And the object of the game is to use your abilities in conjunction with playing cards that offer weapon range or weapon shots and dodging bullets and other special abilities that you may have to basically either defeat all the outlaws or defeat the sheriff and the deputies. So it's kind of team versus team. And I believe there is one person that can be the renegade or kind of the rogue, I guess, person, and they're sort of in it for themselves. They are neither affiliated with the sheriff and his team or the outlaws, and he's just trying to wreak havoc and win the game all on his own. So there's several win conditions for that game, and just that alone, I can see how they could just overlay Halo on top of that. In fact, you could probably overlay a lot of different video game themes on top of Bang. But as far as I know, Halo is the only alternative version from that sort of Western setup. So I think it works slightly different. I've never played Bang before. I just read about it. I actually was looking for, well, if you guys have been watching my other videos, you know I'm kind of a theme-based person. Anything that is a theme or a sort of has a component that I really enjoy, and they lay that theme on top of an interesting board game or interesting card game, I'll do it. I'll get it. I got Teen Titans, I got Gears of War, I got Doom, and a few others that I felt it was really just purely for the theme, and also Dragon Ball. So this is no longer, I think, in production. So I got it off of eBay. Thank you, eBay. And I thought I'd give it a try. It is not a solo game, and it sucks because I play mostly solo. But I think there's an opportunity here to come up with sort of a solo AI, and I'm still trying to fine-tune that. But in this series of Bang Halo, you are playing red team versus blue team. And just like in the series, or also when you're playing multiplayer in Halo, you have that sort of red team, blue team, various game types, capture the flag, a Slayer, and all those other game modes. And this is basically team versus team Slayer. And there is one person that can play as the Oni operative, and that's sort of, again, equivalent to that sort of rogue renegade that's in the original Bang game. And that person plays for himself, and he's trying to eliminate both the red and blue, while the other team, red or blue, is trying to just be the team that wins. So it depends on your player count. Obviously, if you have 3 players, it's red, blue, and potentially the Oni operative. But if you're playing teams, you got basically teams of 3 plus that 7th player who would be the Oni operative. And it's quite interesting. I read the instructions and I thought, this could play very well. I think that the theme works well in this type of game environment. You're drawing cards, your cards have special abilities, you have specialization as well as special, I guess, abilities. So the game itself comes with 7 of these, I guess, heads up HUDs for your, basically that's in your helmet. And it doesn't really matter. They're all basically the same layout. It's just different, sort of a different scene background. And it has a variety of areas. This is where you'll be laying out your, depending on your specialization that you choose, you'll be laying out the number of overshield tokens represented by these token chits. Now, they're actually pretty good. These are actually a lot thicker than I thought. I thought this would be really cheap, maybe paper or thin cardboard, but it's actually very, very thick. The blue side obviously means you're undamaged, and as you take hits, you will flip it over to the red, and once your total number of, I guess, health tokens or overshield tokens is flipped over, you are killed. You're not eliminated from the game, but you're just killed. You'll be given a set number of dog tags depending on the player count, and I'm sure there's lots of flexibility for making variations. And the number of dog tags is basically your life count. And as a opposite player kills you, they would take one of your dog tags. You'd give it up. The moment any one person from either team has no more dog tags, the game is finished, and the team with the most dog tags is declared the winner, or the person with the most dog tags is declared the winner. So you'll have where you'll be laying out your overshield tokens. You'll have a section here for your dog tags, which you'll basically be putting those dog tags on there. And you'll also be grabbing a respawn token. So on one side is your sort of Halo mask, and then when you are dead, but not out, because you still have dog tags, you'll be flipping it over to the respawn side. And basically, until it becomes your turn again, you are no one can attack you. You basically haven't spawned back into the game. And once it's your turn, you draw cards to bring yourself back in and continue the gameplay. You'll have a, I guess, a character card. So there's 7. There's the Enforcer. There's 3 blues, 3 reds, and 1 O&I operative. And this is, again, this is the equivalent to the Rogue or Renegade, as they call it in the Bang series. And one of the red and one of the blue would be designated as the team leader. And that is important, especially when you are deciding on which player goes first, because you'll be flipping this red team, blue team pog to determine which leader would be going first in the game. And you'll proceed in a clockwise order. On top of that, you'll be randomly choosing a specialization. There are a total of 12, and each specialization has an ability, as well as the name, ability, and this little number on the side here represents how many overshield tokens you will have that you'll be placing on your overshield bar. So what's interesting is these are all quite unique. I actually think there's not one here that's, oh, it's kind of same as the other one. They actually operate very differently, and in my mind, when I'm looking at them, it's quite difficult to choose which one I would really want to be. I don't think there is one particular one that I say, oh yeah, that one's definitely the winner, and with that specialization, I'll definitely win every game. So I think normally what you do is you could just randomly shuffle it and have your players randomly choose a specialization, or if you want, you can just do a draft. And then next up to that, you'll be given all your, I guess, play cards. There's a set of 90, and there are a variety of cards that you can have. There are enhancement cards, there are action cards, and there are weapon cards. And on your turn, everyone has a starting hand of 4 cards that they draw, and on your turn, you will have the ability to draw 2 cards and then play any number of cards from your hand, but you can only play 1 weapon unless you have an ability that does otherwise. So we'll take a look at the weapon cards first. And I like it because it's, again, I love Halo. I grew up with Halo 1 to 4. I never played the ones after that, Halo Guardians or anything after that, or the most recent one, Halo Infinite. But I'm sure if I had the Xbox One or the Xbox X, is it? I would want to play it because I think Halo is a great game. So you'll have your weapon card, and again, on your turn, you can play 1 weapon card. You would choose your target, and you would have a couple pieces of key information here. The first one is the range. So depending on the number of players on either direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, the number of spaces represents the range distance from you. So the person immediately to your left and right would be 1 space away. The person on your right or left that's 2 spots away would be 2 spaces away, or a range of 2. So depending on which weapon you use, it will have a range, and you can target a person that is no greater than that range number. So you can't target with this saw, you can't target someone more than 2 spots away from you. That doesn't include someone who's in the middle of responding. So like I said, if you have been killed, you gave up your dog tag, but you still have dog tags left, you are in a respawn state, which no card effect will apply to you, and people can't target you. And when they're counting range, they do not include you as part of that range. You're basically as if you're not there until you spawn back in. And then the bottom number here would represent the amount of damage that this weapon does without any additional enhancements. So there are cards that can increase your damage, but the range effectively, I think, stays the same. However, you can have enhancements to change your range or your perceived range between other people. So I'll come across that card in a minute. So here's another one, which is the battle rifle, one of my favorites. Damage of 1, I feel like it should be more, but it definitely has a high range. And I think for the most part, these weapon cards are quite thematic. Here's a shotgun, range of 1, damage of 2. So that is weapon cards. And you'll also have weapon cards that are also vehicles, like the Pelican or the Scorpion. And I think that's also very, very cool and thematic that they could tie that in. So here we have the broadsword. So it has a range of 5, again, makes sense, with a damage of 2. The other types of cards that you can have are called enhancement cards. And there are a variety of enhancement cards. And they basically, when you play them, are sort of perpetual for as long as you're alive. Although I think in the rulebook, it doesn't specifically say that when you die, you lose your enhancements. So I think it is perpetual until you're completely killed or removed from the game. So here's a couple. They are sort of this light blue color. You'll have enhancements that you can play, and you can play any number of enhancements that's currently in your hand, which will boost your abilities. So for example, this firepower gives you a +1. You can play 1 additional weapon each turn. So the default maximum number of weapon cards you can play on your turn is 1, but with firepower, you can do 1 more. Or if you play multiple firepower enhancements on your turn, you effectively stack it and you could play quite a few. I think one of the things about Bang, or the Bang series, is it is very highly likely that you get killed even before your turn happens, depending on the number of people. And I think it's mainly because of these kind of enhancements. Now, I don't have a reference to the other Bang, the original Bang series cards, and what firepower would be in that Western setting. But in this game, if I had 3 firepowers and a weapon, or 3 firepowers and 3 weapons, I could potentially target the same person and potentially wipe them out very quickly. You have a stealth card, which adds 1 range for other players to you. So this effectively makes it more difficult for them to shoot you because you are perceived further away than you actually are from them. And that's also an interesting tactic. And we have here damage boost, which is your weapons deal 1 additional damage. And again, these stack. So you could potentially have 4 damage boost cards that you play on your turn and 1 weapon card, and you can easily boost it up +4. And that could be a nightmare for some people. There's a few other enhancement cards, like this one, which is Oddball, and you're basically tossing this to someone, and at the start of the turn, there's some kind of condition that they need to meet. If they don't meet it, then they either take damage or they lose a dog tag. So you're kind of messing up their strategy. And I think that was all the enhancement cards. You have one type of card, which is the shield card. And this is your hard light shield. So I think Bang, at the time this was done, 2014, includes Halo 4, because some of the weapons or the hard light shield, from what I remember, wasn't introduced until Halo 4, because that was when the Promethean species came about, and you could actually pick up this weapon or pick up this shield for you to protect yourself. So on an opponent's turn, if they so happen to target you, they throw down a weapon or a vehicle card or whatever to attack you, you can immediately discard or show your hard light shield, and it defends against any weapon. It doesn't defend against effects that give you damage, but it definitely defends you against weapon attacks. And the last type of card are action cards. And these are sort of the one-time use action cards that take effect immediately. There's the Flood, where you have other players discard a weapon or they suffer 1 damage. You have an Ordnance Pod, which you can draw 2 cards. But if you keep this in your hand at the end of the game, you get an extra point. The points are tallied by the number of dog tags, so this would add to it. You have a Weapon Cache, you draw 3 cards from the deck, and all other players draw 1 card from the deck. You have a Pulse Grenade, which is all other players choose to discard a Hard Light Shield or suffer 1 damage. You have Promethean Vision, which is draw 1 random card from the hand of another player. And I believe there was one more, which was Camouflage. Camouflage, which allows you to discard a card from their hand or a card in play. I don't think I have that here. Active Camo, there we go. Active Camo. Discard 1 card from play or from the hand of another player. So basically, at the beginning, you'd be shuffling this deck of cards. You'd be distributing, I think it's depending on the player count, you would distribute 4 cards to the first player, 5 cards to the second and third player, and 6 cards to the 5th and 6th player or 7th player. So it sort of increases because obviously if you're the 7th person to go, you may have a disadvantage, and having more cards in your hand gives you a higher opportunity to have Hard Light Shield to sort of protect yourself. Like again, I said, this is the kind of game where you could easily target someone and peg them off before their turn actually happens. So that is basically sort of an overview of the components, and I'm going to do a playthrough with a sort of 2 versus 1. There is a 3-player setup in the rulebook, and the rulebook itself is pretty straightforward. I think it's set up very similar to the way the Bang rulebook is, and it covers, I think it actually covers it very well. The turn order, what happens, special circumstances. It has a breakdown of all the cards and what they mean, how they're used. It has special rules for 3 players. And like I said, I think this is probably best played 4 players or higher. And you can easily sort of create some house rules just to, I guess, even the playing field so one person doesn't get ganged up on and beaten out of the game, where they're just sitting on the sidelines watching everybody else have fun. But I like the theme so far. I like the idea of it, and I'll do a quick playthrough just so that you see roughly how the gameplay flows. And I'm going to hopefully work on a sort of solo versus AI version and see how that plays out. And maybe if somebody has this game out there, they already have a solo version variant out there, and they could share their thoughts. I'll be right back, setting up the table. See you soon. All right, so I've got a 3-player setup here. Now, actually in the rulebook there are specific rules for 3-player setup, and it's a slight change. Basically, you would have the Oni operative acting alone as 1 player, and 1 player would be controlling the second player, and third player would be teaming together. They would be on the blue team. And there's a few other changes in terms of the number of dog tags that you'd start off with, because basically you have it's a 2-on-1, and reminds me of when I play with my nephews. It's usually my 2 nephews against me, and they would be working together, so they would have 3 dog tags to start with, but the Oni operative gets 6. And they get an extra card, and they actually have the ability to play an additional weapon card as well. And the value of the dog tags that he earns doubles in the end. So there's a slight advantage to the Oni operative just to balance out the gameplay. But in this situation, I'm just going to play as if there was a few more players at the table. It's typically 4 or higher works best. And I will have the red team, blue team, and the infiltrator, as they call it, the Oni operative, working independently. So it's a free-for-all at this point, free-for-all Slayer. I flipped the pog, came out blue, so blue gets to go first, and they draw 4 cards. Second and third players draw 5 cards. And if there were more players after that, I believe they would get 6 cards. And it would be 4th and 5th players would get 6 cards, and the 6th and 7th player, if present, would get 7 cards. And I forgot to put out my overshield tokens. So I picked specializations for each of these randomly. So the red team, who is a defender, he gets Pathfinder. And his ability is you suffer 1 less damage for weapons to a minimum of 1. And he has 4 for his overshield tokens. And the blue team commando gets to be a medic. He may play a weapon from your hand as a hard light shield, unless it is your last card. And he also has a 4 overshields as well. And the infiltrator is the pioneer, and he gets to draw 1 additional card during your draw phase. That's his specialization. So these are all chosen randomly. I've given them their respawn tokens as well as their respective dog tag tokens. And I know it's a little different when you're playing solo three-handed, but I just wanted to give you sort of that gameplay. There's multiple variations depending on the player count in terms of how this plays out. You also add in like I think multiplier cards to gain potential bonuses depending on which team you're on. So I'm not going to go over those things. I'm just going to go over the basic play. So we're starting with the blue team, and the very first thing he's going to do is he's going to take a look at his hand, and you can see I've got a few actions I can play, and I get to draw 2 cards. So on your turn, you can play any number of enhancements and actions, but you can only play 1 weapon. So the first thing I will do is I'm going to play this enhancement, which is a stealth, and this adds +1 range when other opponents are attacking the blue commando. So in this situation, if we're all 1 range apart, so now between the infiltrator and the defender, the commando is considered a range of 2 from both of them. So that could affect whatever weapons that they have. The second thing I will do is I can play pulse grenade twice if I want to, because I have 2. I can easily think of a house rule right now which to even sort of the flow of the game, it could drag it out a little bit longer, but at least it would make it a little bit more even for other players to sort of have an opportunity, is maybe limiting your enhancements and actions to 1 unique card per turn. So I could play 1 pulse grenade, I just can't play another pulse grenade, but I could play additional actions provided I haven't played it already. So just as long as it's unique. And same with your enhancements. So 1 stealth, 1 firepower, 1 boost, and that's it. I wouldn't be able to stack it until my next turn if I have those cards. So I'm going to play pulse grenade. This is an immediate action. It's all players choose to discard a hard light shield or they suffer 1 damage. So we'll take a quick look at the the defender. He has a hard light shield, so he'll discard his hard light shield. And the infiltrator does not, so he's going to take 1 damage. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my assault rifle. Has a range of 1 for 1 damage. So I choose to attack the infiltrator because I know he didn't have a hard light shield to discard of, and he doesn't. He has no option here, so he's going to take another hit. So this is where it becomes very easy to gang up on 1 person, and that person can easily get eliminated very quickly. So we now pass the turn to the defender. We are going in clockwise order. He's going to draw 2 cards. Take a look at his hand. He has mostly weapons. He also has pulse grenade, and he has the flood. So I'm going to play this action, which is flood. All other players choose to discard a weapon or suffer 1 damage. So he's going to discard his weapon. Infiltrator does not have a weapon, so he takes 1 damage. And the last thing I'm going to do here is throw out my pulse grenade. All other players choose to discard a hard light shield or suffer 1 damage. And he has a hard light shield. He'll discard. We know the infiltrator does not have one. So right away, the infiltrator has died. He's been killed. Now, in the rulebook, it doesn't explicitly say that. I think it says once you have flipped your overshield tokens over and they're all red, you're immediately dead. So it's not like there's 1 more opportunity or 1 more hit required to knock him out. So he would give up his dog tag, and because the defender was the one to do the damage, he picks that dog tag up. Now, what will happen in terms of the end of game condition is whenever one of the players has no more dog tags left in their possession. So that ends the defender's turn, and now it would be the infiltrator's turn, who would I forgot to flip this. Because it's his turn, he would be responding. But if there was another player between the defender and the infiltrator, that person would go ahead, but he can no longer target the infiltrator because he's currently responding. Not until the infiltrator's turn happens that he can spawn back in. And as far as I understand from the rulebook, and someone can probably chime in and let me know, if I had any enhancements and also my hand, I don't think it says that they discard when they die. They hold on to everything, and including any enhancements that they have. It doesn't specifically say you discard whatever you have. And that could be another house rule too if you wanted to do it. It's more thematic that way. So it's going to be the infiltrator's turn now, so we're just going to flip over his overshield tokens, draw 2 cards. And he's got the Warthog. So 3 damage for a range of 1. Okay, so we are going to play active camo, and we are going to discard this card from in the in-play area. We're going to play weapon cache. I also forgot to mention, at the end of your turn, you can have a maximum, your hand size is 7, so you have to discard down to 7 at the end of your turn. So I'm going to draw 3. 1, 2, and 3. I will also, it says all players draw 1 card from the deck, so we'll give 1 to the defender, 1 to the commando. The infiltrator will go ahead and we'll play Pulse Grenade. So everyone discards a Hard Light Shield or suffer 1 damage. So defender suffers 1 damage. Oh, discard Hard Light Shield. And then the infiltrator is going to go ahead to play Promethean Vision, draw 1 random card from the hand of another player. So we'll draw it from the defender. We'll take this one. And what did we pick up? We picked up a Magnum. And, oops, sorry. We could play Oddball, but I'm not going to play it yet. And we can also play another Promethean Vision, which is draw a random card from the hand of another player. We'll pull this one. And it's another weapon. Okay, so we got a couple of great options here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to target the defender. He's range 1, and I'm going to play the Warthog. I forgot this turn. I can draw an additional card during my draw phase, but that's okay. I forgot that. So I'm going to play this weapon, and the defender does not have a Hard Light Shield, so he's going to take 3. 1, 2, 3, and he's done. So now he hands his dog tag back over. And that ends the turn. So now it is the commando's turn. The defender is currently responding. So 1, 2. We'll play Ordnance Pod, draw 2 cards from the deck. 1, 2. There's a rule in the game that says the moment you run out of cards, you immediately go into a respawn. Sorry, this guy's already respawned. I don't understand that because tactically you could try to get rid of all your cards to stay in a respawn state, and you're sort of protected. I don't really get that because I feel that is not really thematic. So what if you're out of cards? I mean, that's the hand management. You might want to hold on to some cards. You never know. So I actually would ignore that rule as a house rule, just to ignore the fact that if you have an empty hand, you wouldn't be respawning. Okay, so I got Firepower, which gives me to play an additional weapon. And I've got a Pulse Grenade. I'm going to play this Pulse Grenade. It doesn't affect the defender because he's currently responding. But the Infiltrator doesn't have a Hard Light Shield, so he takes 1 damage. And the Commando doesn't have any weapons, so his turn's over, which means our good friend, the defender, spawns back in. He draws 2 cards. 1, 2. We'll go ahead, use Promethean Vision. Draw 1 random card from another player. We'll take it from the Infiltrator. It's probably a weapon. There we go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pull the shotgun on the Commando for 2 damage. He drops a Hard Light Shield and avoids that attack. Now it's the infiltrator's turn. He's going to draw 2. Actually, he draws 3, sorry, because of his ability. And we've got stealth, so I'm going to play stealth. And I will go ahead and use my magnum and target the commando for 1 damage. He has a hard light shield, he drops that. Okay, so because the commando would technically has run out of cards in his hand, he would technically be in a respawn state, but again, I'm ignoring that. So it's his turn now. He's going to draw 2 cards. I play another firepower, so now I can play up to 2, and I'm going to play the assault rifle on the infiltrator. The infiltrator has a hard light shield. He drops that and is defended against. The defender draws 2. No, I forgot he suffers 1 less damage. I don't know if I made a mistake there, but that's okay. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to play the Scorpion. We're going to use the Scorpion. Now, the infiltrator is technically a range of 2. The commando is range of 1. This has a range of 4 with 2 damage. I'm going to attack the infiltrator. Does the infiltrator have a hard light shield? He does not, so he's taking 2 damage. Okay, and now it's his turn. He draws 3. 1, 2, and 3. He probably has too many cards now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, he just has enough. Okay. So we're going to play active camouflage. Discard 1 card from a player's hand or a card in play. We discard this firepower. We're going to play Oddball, and we're going to assign it to the commando. And the Oddball is, at the start of your turn, flip 1 card. If it is a weapon, discard a weapon from your hand and pass the Oddball. Or lose 1 dog tag and discard the Oddball. Otherwise, pass the Oddball. So I don't really understand the point of this card, but in a 3-player game, according to their setup, the Oddball does not get passed to the infiltrator. It's just passed between the 2 players that are on the same team. I think, again, that's just to keep it even, but in this game, we're sort of playing 3 independent Slayer, so it will be passed around. So we'll put this here to remind me on his turn. And you can only have 1 Oddball in place, so that one I'm going to hold on to, and we'll go ahead and use the Magnum. We will target the commando who has no cards. He's going to take a hit. And that's it. So on his turn, he's going to flip a card from the deck before he draws. If it is a weapon, discard a weapon from your hand and pass the Oddball, or lose 1 dog tag. Otherwise, pass the Oddball. So it's not a weapon, so we pass the Oddball to the defender, and now we draw 2 cards. And they're both enhancements. We play stealth, and we play damage boost. And there's nothing else you can do. So the defender flips a card. If it is a weapon, it is not. So we pass the Oddball, and he draws 2 cards. And we will... Okay, so the infiltrator is a range of 2, so I can't play the shotgun. I can only play the Magnum if I want to go after him. So we're going to go ahead because we're very close to defeating him. So let's go ahead. We're going to play the Magnum on the infiltrator. He does not have a hard light shield, so he takes 1, and that's it. So we give this dog tag to that. But I'm assuming the Oddball stays in play, even though he's technically respawning. But it's his turn anyways, so he's going to spawn in, draw, and at the beginning of the turn, flip a card. It is not a weapon, so it gets passed. He draws 3 cards because of his ability, 2 and 3. And we're going to go ahead and let's go with the Mantis. We're going to target the commando for 3 damage. He has no cards, so he's dead. So he's in the respawn state. And on the start of his turn, he's going to flip a card. It is a weapon. He can't discard a card from his hand because he's no hand, so he's going to take damage. But actually, sorry, that doesn't make sense because he's technically respawning. So the Oddball would have no effect on him. Not until he respawns back in. So I don't know if that actually is a condition on here. No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say what happens. Regardless of range, and even if he is responding. So I guess it would just get passed at this point. It's an otherwise, because he can't do anything. He can't take 1 damage. So now it would be his turn. He respawns in. He draws 2. We will go ahead and use shotgun on the defender. The defender has a hard light shield. He drops it, protects himself. At the start of his turn, flips it over, not a weapon, so that gets passed. Draws 2. We'll do the saw on the infiltrator. Range of 2 for 2 damage. Infiltrator has a hard light shield, which he discards. At the start of his turn, he flips. It is a weapon, so I discard a weapon or I take 1 damage. I will discard a weapon. I will discard my assault. And now I draw 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll pass this oddball over. We'll use active camo, discard a card from play. I forgot about damage boost, but that's okay. And we will use the saw on the commando. And the commando can't stop it, so he takes 2 damage. Start of his turn, he flips a card. It is not a weapon, so it gets passed. He draws 2. If you run out of cards in the deck and you need to shuffle, every player discards a dog tag. It's completely removed from the game. I think that's just to thin down the playtime. So I have damage, so I'm going to enhance damage, and now I have firepower, so I get to play both of these. The defender is range of 1, and the infiltrator is a range of 2. So both of these I can use on the infiltrator, and I think I'll do that. So I play my first magnum on the infiltrator for 1 damage. He doesn't have a hard light shield, so he takes 1. I play my second card, and I'm actually going to attack the defender, and he has a hard light shield, and he drops that. So he stopped that attack. Beginning of the defender's turn, he flips and passes the oddball, draws 2. We'll go ahead and do this. Discard a card from play. We'll discard the infiltrator's stealth. We will use Promethean Vision and randomly pull a card. I don't know. Actually, whose is this? Yeah, this is his card. So we'll randomly pull a card. Pull this one. And we'll play firepower. And let's go with shotgun against the commando. He can't stop it, so he is now respawning. And then, because of firepower, I can play a second one. I will play the assault rifle on the infiltrator for 1, and he takes 1. Okay, beginning of the infiltrator's turn, he's going to do that. This gets passed. He draws 3. 1, 2, and 3. Ooh, I have the Spartan laser. Active camo, discard 1 card from another player. We'll discard this one. We will do Flood. All other players choose to discard a weapon or take 1 damage. It doesn't affect the commando because he's respawning, so he discards a weapon to avoid damage. And now I'll go ahead and use my Spartan laser against the defender. He can't block it, so that's 2 from the defender. And that's it. The commando spawns back in. He flips the first card. It is a weapon. He needs to discard a hand, but he can't, so he's going to take a damage and then pass the oddball, draw 2. We're going to play weapon cache. We can draw 3. 1, 2, and 3. And every other player draws 1. And here we go. So I'm going to put in damage boost. We're going to go ahead with a saw on the defender. I can play an additional card. So that's for 2, 3, 4 damage. He has no shield, so he is done. So he takes the dog tag. I get to play a second one, in which case I will play the Magnum, which would give me 3 on the infiltrator. He does not have a hard light shield, so he is also done as well. So he's respawning, and he's respawning, and he gets a dog tag. So that was a quick comeback for the commando, who only had 1 dog tag left. So now it's the defender's turn. He spawns back in. He reveals a top card. It is a weapon. He needs to discard a weapon or lose a dog tag. Sorry, I forgot who I did. I think it was him. He should have lost a dog tag. So technically, it wasn't damage. It was a dog tag that he should have lost. So my mistake, and that could have been something that I missed earlier. So he gained 2 dog tags from the infiltrator and the defender. So if we went back in time and went like this, because of his oddball, he would have lost this dog tag. And he would have discarded, discard the oddball. So sorry guys, I played the oddball wrong. It should have been discarded at one point. So I'll have to take a look at that. But if we went back in time, this would have been discarded. The last dog tag on the commando would have been removed, and therefore the game would have finished. And the winner of this game would be the defender, because he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dog tags, and he would be declared victorious in this Slayer battle. So that's basically the gist of the game. The flow is fairly straightforward. Your choices, it's not complicated. I wouldn't call this a very complicated game. I have no reference point to the original Bang series, but I assume that it is a game that can play that plays very similar. You put down any bonuses or enhancements. You play weapon cards. I believe there's a dodge card that you have, which is effective to the hard light shield in this game. You have a specialization or some kind of special ability depending on the character that you choose. And gameplay continues until one person is eliminated. And at that point, if there was more red players and blue players, it would be sort of a team effort. It's a collective team effort in terms of who wins. But I like it. I mean, it's not complicated. It's not the most intricate card game out there. I think there's a lot of people that like the Bang series for how it plays. Sort of you're sort of doing this, ready, set, draw, shooting, gunslinging style, and it fits very well with the Halo theme. But I think a lot of people don't like the fact that on one turn you could easily, depending on the cards you draw, it's a lot of luck, get a lot of boosts, abilities, and then the next thing you know, you can kill off someone before they even have a first turn, especially if there's some gang ups. But I like the fact that while you're respawning, someone can't technically gang up on you because you're in a respawn state. So I think that might play a little differently than people who've commented about the Bang series. But it's swingy, depending on the cards you draw, and you could be stuck with all weapons or all enhancements, and then you can't fire anything. And there's easily a lot of house rules that you can play and put into place to prevent sort of ganging up on people or just sort of streamline the flow of attacks, as well as make the gameplay a bit more interesting. So there you go. That is Halo Bang, or Bang Halo. It's for ages 8 and up, 3 to 7 players. I will probably put together, if if I can, a sort of solo versus an AI version of this. But it's something I think would be fun. My nephews love Halo, and it's a lot of fun, and I love Halo. So this was sort of a perfect fitting theme on top of an interesting card game, shoot 'em up game with a little bit of strategy. And I think the suspense part really isn't there. I think in Bang, the suspense part is, I believe, only the sheriff, the person whose role is the sheriff, is revealed. Everyone else is hidden, and you're sort of trying to determine which ones are the outlaws, which ones are the deputies, and which one's the renegade. But in my mind, even though I haven't played it, I'm thinking, well, obviously the deputies aren't going to attack the sheriff, and only the outlaws and the renegade would attack the sheriff. So clearly, you would already know, based on one round of turns, who's who, at least narrow down who's who. So I don't really think there's a lot of suspense there, but maybe someone can correct me, comment, and just let me know if maybe there's more to that suspense than I'm aware of. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, stay bored.